Welcome to the Susan Brender Show. It's all about you, featuring shows on health and wellness, the performing arts, politics, and people who inspire you to be your best. And now, here's Susan Brender.
On today's show, my guest is Mike Carey. He has been involved in alternative health for 36 years, with the last 20 years using cellular memory and the electricity of the body to determine the cause of most health issues as well as the natural remedy. Using this method, he's been able to develop remedies for things like eczema, herpes, hepatitis C, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, Lyme disease, osteoporosis, and many other health problems. He does most of his testing over the phone via a toll-free number by Skype with clients all over the world. He's a native of Idaho, but currently resides with his wife Adriana in Medellin, Colombia, where he is a licensed Christian pastor and missionary. I want to welcome Mike Carey to V for Vitality.
Thank you, Susan. It's a pleasure to be here.
You know, Mike, you've been involved in cellular memory for a long time. How does it work?
Well, probably 25 or 30 years ago, when doctors started doing transplants, people getting a new organ would find themselves craving the same food or sometimes even loving the same person as the one they got the organ from, and so they determined back then that the memory passes at the cellular level. And they've since determined that every cell in your body has enough storage capacity to store all 32 books of the Encyclopedia Britannica many times over. And everything that happens in your life is stored at the cellular memory, not just in the brain. And about, a little over 20 years ago, I discovered that you can tap into that memory by asking the body questions that can be answered yes or no, and the body responds electrically, which allows me to muscle test it. They've developed machines now that do the same thing, and it reads out on an electrical scale, but I still do it manually.
Can you give me some examples of how this has helped people?
I'm sorry?
Can you
say that again?
Can you give me some examples of how this has helped people?
Well, yes. To begin with, how I discovered this, my youngest daughter had chronic fatigue for 8 years, and I had taken her to dozens of doctors and naturopaths and chiropractors and health practitioners. No one could figure out what was causing it or how to fix it. When I learned about cellular memory, I was able to tap into her cellular memory, and I found out what was causing her chronic fatigue and was able to fix the problems in 2 days, and all of her energy came back after 8 years. And I've been doing this ever since. I've had many really unique experiences. I had a young boy who every 6 weeks he would put on a high temperature, 103, 104, 105, and his mother said, I can mark my calendar ahead of time because it happens every 6 weeks. And I tested him and got rid of everything that was compromising his body, and it still happened. And I said, well, bring him back, and I'll try to think of some more questions to ask. And so I'm asking his body questions that can be answered yes or no. I finally got around to asking, is this being caused by something in his house? And his body responded yes. So I went room by room through his house. Is it coming from his bedroom? No. Is it coming from the living room? No. Is it coming from the kitchen? Yes. I asked his mother, I said, what do you have in your kitchen? She said, a stove and refrigerator like everybody else. I said, wait a minute, what kind of stove do you have? And she said, a gas stove. Well, see, all gas stoves leak, but the power companies will tell you that it's within tolerance and it does not affect you. But I asked his body, does he have natural gas poisoning? And his body said yes. And what was happening was he was absorbing the natural gas, and every 6 weeks he'd put on a high temperature to burn it off. And so they sold the gas stove, bought an electric stove, and it never happened again. Now, there's no way I could know that or they could know that, but his body knew because the memory was stored at the cellular level. And I've had, literally hundreds of experiences of the same type of thing.
Very interesting, Mike. I am curious. How can you accurately test people over the phone? Is it hard to do?
Well, it's interesting. Most people don't realize that everything in the universe works by electricity and frequencies. That's the way your body works, and that's the way the telephone works. And frequencies travel through the air, or you wouldn't have TV, Wi-Fi. You wouldn't even have that little key fob that opens your car door. Frequencies travel through the air, and frequencies travel over the phone line. And so I'm able to test people over the phone line, and their body responds electrically, which is a frequency, and it comes back to me over the phone line. That's the only way I can explain it. I know it sounds unusual, and it is, but it works.
I have to ask you something, because this is a very controversial thing, and you're using a methodology that some people might question.
Well, yes, I can appreciate that. It's what I do is weird, but it works, and it's about 99% accurate because the body can't lie. And for the testing, I charge a small fee, and if people are skeptical, I just tell them, listen, I don't charge up front. If you're not happy with the results, don't pay me. And so far, everybody has paid me because they're happy with the results, because it works.
So, can you test babies or animals?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Can you test babies or animals?
Can I test you now?
No. Can you test babies or animals?
I can test babies and animals just as easily. And I don't know how that works. Their body responds. Animals don't speak English, so I don't know how their body knows. There's some form of communication that takes place that we just don't understand or haven't discovered yet. And it may have something to do with particle physics or quantum mechanics or something along that line, but I don't know. But it works. I've cured probably 6 or 8 dogs this past year, a couple of cats, and in the past I've cured a horse and a cow. So it works just as well with animals as it does with people.
So let's change gears right now. What are some of the major issues facing people in the U.S. today?
Okay, I'm getting a little bit of an echo, so I'm having a hard time understanding what you said.
So what are some of the major issues facing people in the U.S. today?
I'm not sure what you said, but when I find a problem with people, I have a checklist that I go through that covers just about everything in the body. There's about 150 items on the checklist. And when I find a problem, I want to know how bad it is on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the least and 10 being the worst. And so I'm able to count that. And that tells me how bad the problem is, and it gives me a measuring stick, and it also provides a way to check and double check what I find. I don't have to guess at anything. I'm able to check and double check everything that I find using that number and another set of numbers that I've developed over the years that is very, very accurate. I only use natural remedies. I don't use any medicines of any kind. The things I recommend people do are all natural, and they always work. Literally 99% of the time they work. Okay.
So have you had success with hepatitis C and chronic fatigue syndrome and also Lyme disease?
I've developed remedies for hepatitis C and Lyme disease Hepatitis C is caused by a virus. All hepatitis is caused by a virus, and what the virus does is it throws the liver enzymes way out of balance. And if you were to go to a doctor, they would do a liver enzyme test, and they would say you have hepatitis or hepatitis C. And I've been able to determine that it's a two-step process. First, you have to kill the virus, and then you can balance the enzymes. You can't balance the enzymes until the virus is gone. And so I have natural remedies that will kill the virus very quickly, and then once the virus is dead, and I verify that by rechecking my clients, then I balance the enzymes. And it usually takes 15 days on normal to completely get rid of hepatitis C. And they advertise on the internet that the FDA just approved another drug for hepatitis C, only it's going to cost $63,000 to $93,000 for a 12-week course in this drug, and there's no guarantee it'll fix your hepatitis C. Well, it can be eradicated in 15 days with less than $200 in cost for the products that are needed. And Lyme disease, so many people, hundreds of thousands of people in the U.S. are suffering with Lyme disease, and everybody's looking for a vaccine or some special drug to cure the Lyme disease. Well, I have a unique all-natural product that kills all pathogens, including the spirochete that causes Lyme disease. And if people have had it a long time, the spirochete even gets into the brain. But this all-natural product penetrates the blood-brain barrier, and so it kills it there as well. It just takes longer. Usually Lyme disease can be eradicated in anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks. All naturally.
Interesting, very interesting. But what are your credentials? You can't be just doing this out of the thin air. You have to have certain credentials, don't you?
Well, actually, I don't have any credentials. I'm just a guy with a gift. I consider what I do a gift because I've tried to teach other people how to do what I do, and they can't seem to do it. My credentials all come from experience, from doing what I'm doing. I have a lot of certifications in various alternative health modalities, but I really don't have any credentials that I'm not a doctor, or a naturopath or a chiropractor or, any form of higher education credentials. I just am a guy with a gift, and I enjoy helping people, and the results I'm getting are amazing. They amaze me daily. Okay.
But trust you. I mean, look, this is a very, very serious series of different kinds of diseases that you're dealing with. Why should we trust you?
Well, my success ratio is probably 98, 99%. Some of the things that people are dealing with today, for example, radiation poisoning and people don't even realize it, it's all over the U.S. and Canada. I have clients in literally every state with radiation poisoning, and that's from Fukushima in Japan. And it's being picked up off the ocean and dropped all over the country in the form of rain or snow, and it creates hot spots. And if you go into one of those hot spots, you get radiated. Now, the interesting thing is there's two forms of radiation that are being spread all over the country. One is called iodine-131, and the other is cesium-137. Fortunately, the iodine-131 is where most of the hot spots are, and it has a shelf life or a half-life of 8 days. And so if the snow, for example, creates a hot spot, it'll only be there for 8 days because it'll dissipate after that. However, if you get it in your body, you have to get rid of it. It's not going to dissipate on its own. And I have about 3 or 4 or 5 different remedies that will cause the body to release the radiation. And some are fast and others take a little longer. But I test for that with people, and I'm finding radiation poisoning now in at least 40% of the people I test all over the United States.
You know, Mike, it's the conventional wisdom out there is that it's very important to mix both the alternative method and also just conventional. How do you feel about that as well? Because I, for one, feel that it is important to do the best you can for your body. And I really enjoy the idea of getting alternative care and also conventional care. Do you actually believe what I'm saying is a fact and can be really helpful? Do you recommend?
Well, yes. In fact, I agree with you. However, there's a difference between health and your bodily needs. I believe medical science is designed for emergency treatment. If you have a gunshot wound or a broken leg or some major injury, you need a doctor. But I don't believe doctors are taught about natural health. And so if you're dealing with health issues, you should go to a health practitioner. And the other issue is that medicine, man-made drugs, only treat symptoms. They never really get at the cause. The type of testing I do finds and eliminates the cause and allows the body to heal itself. The problem with man-made medicines is that they're inorganic. Our bodies are organic. In other words, we're a living organism, and man-made things are dead. They're not a living organism. Well, our bodies are designed to absorb organic things that come from a living organism. They cannot digest inorganic things, and so when you put an inorganic product in your body, it may be, something you need, but it's man-made. Your body has two choices. It can either eliminate it or store it. And if your liver is toxic, then it's going to store it someplace in your body, and it's eventually going to break down the body. Your liver is your body's detoxifier, and when you put medicine in your body, your liver tries to get rid of it. Consequently, all medicine is toxic to the liver. So that's the difficulty.
Well, since you recommend natural substances, are they expensive?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand that.
Since you recommend natural substances, are they very expensive?
No, actually they're very inexpensive compared to the medicines you would buy. Most natural things are cheap. They're very inexpensive. I use a lot of different herbs and minerals and so forth. I use, for example, an herbal tincture might cost $20 or so, and that tincture may fix numerous things in your body. One of the problems that people have, and many do not realize it, is their occipital bone is out, and the occipital bone is right at the base of the skull. It's actually part of the skull, and it's the bowl that holds the brain. And when the occipital is out, there's a nerve that goes through there called the vagus nerve, and it gets pinched, and it cuts off electricity to various parts of your body. About 50% of the people who have low back pain, for example, there's nothing wrong with their back. Their occipital bone is out, pinching the vagus nerve, and it's cutting off electricity and causing pain in their lower back. So the occipital is the problem, and it's so high up that most chiropractors can't adjust it because it's part of the skull. But years ago, I discovered that there's 2 different herbs that have a frequency that will cause it to go back to home base in 2 days. And so I test for which one they want, and they take this herbal tincture, It might cost them $20, and they take it for 2 days, and their occipital bone goes back, and all of a sudden their back pain is gone after maybe years of suffering with it.
Do I need to worry about side effects from what you recommend?
Well, very natural things have very few side effects because you're digesting them. Your body digests them. The reason things have side effects is because you don't digest them and your body stores them, and that creates the side effects. That's what happens when you take medicine. I'm not opposed to medicine if you need it. If your life is at threat, you need it. But my first choice is not medicine. My first choice is natural things.
So what's your ratio of success?
I'm sorry? Say that again?
What is your ratio of success?
Well, my success ratio is well above 95%, probably 98, 99% in that range. Most health issues that people have today are resolved in 1 to 3 weeks. The majority of health issues. I've had, let me give you an example. I had a lady I met on LinkedIn from South Africa, and she said she'd been sick for 14 years and had gone to numerous doctors and practitioners, and no one could help her. So I contacted her and said, I can help you. And she asked, well, how can you help me? And I explained what I do, and she said, that's ridiculous. You're going to test me over the phone, and I'm supposed to believe you? And I said, well, listen, I don't charge up front. If you're not happy with the result, don't pay me. She said, oh, okay. So I connected with her on Skype, tested her, put her on a protocol. 2 weeks later, she called me. She said, I want to pay you, and I want you to test my husband. After 14 years, she was totally well in 2 weeks. And this is the type of thing that I do.
Now, I tried out magnets, and I don't know if you deal with that at all. However, I have to question whether or not they are really effective, because the fact is, it was supposed to help my stomach. It was supposed to help. I unfortunately have an issue with my ear, and so it was supposed to help my ear. And so far, nothing. What do you say about that? Everybody should know a little bit more about these techniques, but this particular technique didn't help me. So should I believe everything you're saying?
Well, you have to find and eliminate the cause. It doesn't do any good to just treat symptoms. That's the problem with modern day medicine. It treats symptoms. The reason cancer returns with people, usually within 5 years, their cancer returns, is because the cause is still there. They never got rid of the cause. They treated the symptom, which was the tumor, but they never got rid of the cause. And that's the problem. And the same with your ear. You have to deal with the cause. I don't know what the cause is with your ear right now, but if you call me, I'll test you, and we can figure out what is causing the problem. One of the things that people need to be aware of today also is that genetically modified foods are poisonous to your body. They're full of herbicides and pesticides and glyphosate, and those are poisons to your body. And I've dealt with probably more than 30 women with breast cancer, and in 90% of them, the cause was pesticide poisoning. For some reason, with women, it goes right to the breast. Okay?
Interesting, very interesting. And what about autism? I don't want to change the subject all the time, but I just have to get to the bottom of this, because autism has been affecting so many more people. I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, who heard of autism?
Well, I've only worked with a few people with autism. We've made some great improvements, but the autism isn't totally gone. I believe that when the cause actually causes some permanent damage, I don't know that it can be totally reversed.
So it sounds like you're pretty honest about how things work in the field of alternative care. And so I don't really want to get personal with you, but what do you charge for something like this?
Well, I just have a flat fee of $75 for the testing. And I also recheck my clients at least once a week until everything's cleared up, but all the rechecks are free. So it's a one-time fee of $75, and usually things are gone in 2 to 4 weeks, and so after that, they don't need me anymore. I do have a subscription program that a number of people have signed up for, where they can pay a flat fee a month and have access to me anytime they want to. And so I have a number of people, and they call me. Some of them will call me every other day and say, I have this problem, what do I do? And so then I'll test them and tell them what to do, and they're fine. And then a few days later, they'll call me with something else. And that subscription program works well for that because it's cheaper than the regular flat fee of $75. But I've tried to make everything reasonable so that people can afford it. I believe that people should not be sick because they can't afford to be well. And if there are people out there that are on a fixed income or financially challenged but they're sick, then I test them for free. If they're active military, or if they're recent veterans of Iraq or Afghanistan, I test them for free. If they're in full-time Christian ministry, I test them for free. I want to be able to help people, and I appreciate people in those situations.
And I can appreciate what you're doing, and I can appreciate you. So how does a person contact you?
I have a toll-free number. It actually goes over the internet because I have a Magic Jack on my computer. My number is 208-968-5797. That's 208-968-5797. They can also reach me by email and to establish an appointment. My email address is silverwood08@gmail.com. silverwood08@gmail.com. And
it's been a total pleasure to have you on our show because you've given us a tremendous amount of information, and I am just delighted that our audience had an opportunity to listen to you today, Mike Carey. You are a very inspirational person because you give people hope and you help them to think about ways in which they can really get healthy. And so my guest today was, of course, Mike Carey, and Mike has an awful lot of information to offer to you, the audience, and I want to thank you again for being on my show, V for Vitality.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure, and I hope I can help some of your listeners.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Cool off with a delicious treat at FYI Frozen Yogurt and Ice Cream Shop in beautiful Delray Beach, Florida. FYI offers more than 20 flavors of ice cream, frozen yogurt, Italian gelato, sorbet, protein shakes, and more. FYI also caters birthday parties or any special occasion. Enjoy these wonderful treats in our cool, breezy, kid-friendly cafe. That looks good. Can Mommy have a taste?
They're mine.
Oh well. You can receive a free small cone of frozen yogurt or ice cream if you say the magic words, Susan sent you. Don't forget to pick up a coupon for $1 off your next purchase. They're located at 9 Northeast 2nd Avenue in Pineapple Grove, Delray Beach, Florida. They're open 7 days a week. For store hours or more information, call 561-450-7402. This commercial brought to you by FYI Frozen Yogurt and Ice Cream Shop and the Susan Brender Show. See you there.
Thank you for listening to the Susan Brender Show. It's all about you. Want to be a guest? Contact us at susanbrendershows@gmail.com. That's susanbrendershows@gmail.com.